You want me to put that on my Tudor?
Harry's wife. Creatures of ever-decreasing relevance. Indeed, they are. One would question what their relevance was in the beginning. A ginger prince who'd lived a gilded lifestyle, but largely people liked because he was a good laugh and could be quite entertaining at times. She has always been irrelevant, a trumped-up actress who thinks that she's better than she actually isn't a particularly good actress and has nothing else to offer the world other than her fridge magnet platitudes and her industrial beigeness. Therefore, in the grand scheme of things, how are they relevant? Are they relevant to your lives? No, they're completely detached from them. They don't actually understand the way that people live. He, because he's always building that gilded environment. Her, because she's deluded as a consequence of her narcissism. But it would appear that as a consequence of recent events, primarily the disclosures that have come forth from the mauling, courtesy of South Park, and the general fatigue amongst the populace to hearing more bollocks spouted by these two, that they are very much circling the drain. But who has been calling them creatures of ever-decreasing relevance? Well, we turn to Newsweek with an article by Coterie member Jack Royston, who's invariably pro-Sussex. So, is the worm turning with him? Well, the title of the article is Harry's Wife Determined Archie Lilibet Overcome Royals in Exile Status. If there's any exile, it's self-imposed because they decided that they didn't want to live in the United Kingdom because she, guided by her narcissism, asserted control over the royal family by withdrawing, over the British press by withdrawing, over the British public by withdrawing, and also as part of maintaining her grip over the Prince of Pink Pancakes by ensuring that he was stripped of his support networks, by taking him first to Canada and then to California. To suggest that they are in exile is quite frankly a load of horse shit and is just generated as part of this victim mentality. Royston writes, Harry's wife and Prince Harry will want children, Archie and Lilibet, to achieve a great deal in adult life despite the huge difficulties of being the children of royals in exile. What fucking difficulty is there of being children of royals in exile? More problematic for them is that their mother is a narcissist and their father is the victim of a narcissist who is a quarter-wit. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex are the royal couple who gradually fade out of the public's consciousness. Oh, but we can pray that that's the case. But they will focus all their energies on the next generation, a friend of the couple told the new book Gilded Youth, published by Bite Back Publishing on February the 28th. Archie Mountbatten Windsor is 3 years old and was born in Britain in 2019, while Lilibet Mountbatten Windsor is 1. And she was born in California in 2021, just in case you weren't aware of those facts, because they've never been mentioned before. The comments come at a time when the couple have endured a major swing against them in US public opinion, threat to control, following the release of Harry's book, Author Tom Quinn quotes an old friend described as having visited the Sussexes at their Monty Shit Show home, resplendent with 47,000 flushing toilets. Harry's wife, and to a lesser extent Harry, will focus all their energies on the next generation. Their lives are now fixed. They are the royal couple who gradually fade out of the public's consciousness. But Harry's wife will send both children to the best schools money can buy, and she will be determined that they achieve a great deal in adult life, despite the huge difficulties of being the children of royals in exile. Oh, fuck off crying me a river. The children, to the extent that they exist, because some of you believe that they do not, have parents that are multimillionaires. They live in a huge house. They have nannies and staff running around for them. It isn't the case that they're going to have to walk several miles a day to try and find water which contains bugs and is muddy and is likely to give them dysentery or cholera. It isn't the case that those children are going to be starving, find themselves malnourished. It isn't the case that those children are going to find themselves living in a war zone. And therefore, this is yet another PR exercise to claim that the children have huge difficulties of being the children of royals in exile. Another pity play from Harry's wife, playing upon the fact of suggesting we've been sent away, we've been pushed into exile by those nasty royals in Britain. It's utter claptrap. Gilded Youth argues that outside the royal family, Harry and Harry's wife are mere shadows, creatures of ever-decreasing relevance. And that has to be accurate. However, the book suggests their achievements may live on through success of their children. Well, of course, that is the typical view of the narcissist, subconsciously so, to, of course, commandeer by way of character trait acquisition the successes and achievements of the child, and also to live on through them vicariously. All parents do it to some extent, of course, but nowhere near to the level and extent that the narcissist does. A former advisor told Quinn that Harry's wife wants her children to have American freedom to do and say what you like and go where you like. Yes, because in Britain it's a totalitarian state these days, isn't it? In a way that would not have been possible in the institution of monarchy. In other words, the fact that there are conventions and protocols to abide by, they threaten Harry's wife's innate need for control. The aide said Harry's wife hated being controlled by royal protocol, because it's a threat to control, of course. The fact, for example, that at Kensington Palace, royals have to announce in advance when they are leaving the palace and where they are going. This is partly for security, but partly also to avoid a situation where a senior royal is upstaged by a more junior royal leaving just when the more important person leaves. To an outsider, like Harry's wife, this just looked silly. But to the palace, it is absolutely essential. Well, of course, she would do well, although she won't do this, to remember that she joined the institution, and in doing so, it is implicit that you take on its conventions and rules. The article continues, I think Charles agreed with Harry's wife on many points. He thought much of the protocol was silly, but it's hard to change. William has bought into it, which is why George and Louis and Charlotte are so conventional and look like something out of the 1950s. Smearing. Harry's wife wants something different from this for her children. She wants American freedom to do and say what you like and go where you like by ensuring that the children are never seen going anywhere or choosing anything they'd like to do, apart from when they're rolled out for the purposes of their exploitation for shitflick docuseries. The comments have echoes of Harry's wife's account to Oprah Winfrey in March 2021, where she said her introduction to royal life was the last time she saw her passport, driving licence and keys. Lie. The Duchess was also famously asked whether she was silent or silenced and replied, the latter, despite thereafter contradicting herself, saying that there is nothing that prevents her from speaking out, demonstrating once again that she lied and it was a pity play. But here, the past is being brought up once again to try and make it look like she is such a kind and caring mother as part of the facade management, but all it does is provide the likes of me with a further opportunity to highlight her revisions of history, contradictory behaviour, hypocrisies and lies. A friend of Harry's from his clubbing days, I wonder if that's Bonkers Night Spot, told the author, Harry's wife will be great when her children are very young, because she will show them an example of someone who goes out and tries to grab the world by the scruff of the neck. Do you mean by being a grifter? She has such a level of certainty about herself and the world that Archie and Lilibet will feel safe, very safe, perhaps too safe. We know she's been very hands-on with the children, really, by having a staff of nannies and housekeepers. But she could end up dominating their every move when they are older. Undoubtedly, she will attempt to do so by virtue of the assertion of control. Those of you who are the children of narcissists will know that in certain instances you couldn't so much breathe without the approval of the adult narcissist. She is a very dominating, not to say domineering character, and it will be hard to keep that out of her parenting. Or rather, she's a narcissist and she has to control everybody around her, including her children. Quinn also gave his own take on Harry and Harry's wife's future. Perhaps Harry's wife and Harry should remember that royal exiles often become bitter and twisted as time wears away at their glitter. Like Harry's great-uncle Edward VIII, Harry will no doubt think he and Harry's wife will always be important, but he may discover, as Edward and Mrs. Simpson discovered long ago, that outside the royal family they are mere shadows, creatures of ever-decreasing relevance. Well, it's true, because without his title, Harry's just basically a dim-witted bloke that's quite good at looking after elephants. As if for Harry's wife, she's a nobody. She's an actress that carved out a semi-successful career, but nobody had ever heard of until she married Harry. Without the titles, they're nothing. The article goes on, it is even perhaps possible that sometime in the future Harry's wife and their children will long for the newspapers to write about them again. For as Oscar Wilde might have said, there is only one thing worse than the newspapers saying unkind things about you, and that is them saying nothing about you at all. Thus, they're described as being creatures of ever-decreasing relevance, something that will send a shudder down the spine of Harry's wife, because to be irrelevant is a death knell for the narcissist. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.